Jeff Saturday from Monday of this week. We didn't get a chance to play it yesterday, but we need to see and hear and talk about what Saturday said when he addressed with reporters what he would do if he ended up being the head coach beyond the 2022 season. Here he is.
If I get this job, there's going to be significant change. You know, the way I do things is not the way things, necessarily have been done. I have my own way. And so I think that's the part that, as you're thinking about the way you want to run an organization as the head coach, that would be my responsibility. When I came in, I'm thrust into how things have been done, for the past however many years. And I'm appreciative of that and the work that they've done and the success that they've had. But it will look different.
That's exactly the argument Jim Irsay will make to himself to give him the job.
Sure.
Jeff Saturday just gave the script to Jim Irsay. It's what we were talking about earlier. I put him in a bad situation. And Saturday, as diplomatically as he could, as carefully as he could tiptoe through the mess, he basically said, I got thrown into a bad situation. All due respect to the people who created the bad situation, I got thrown into a bad situation. And I don't know how you reconcile Saturday and Ballard, because Ballard's partially responsible for what was there. That's where this becomes very delicate for Ballard, for Saturday, for Irsay, because this could be a forced marriage between Saturday and Ballard, because Ballard has to hear that and think, hey, man, you come in and do all this stuff differently because the way we were doing it's not any good. Well, I'm part of it. I'm responsible for the coaching staff, and I'm in a position to give them input and guidance on how it needs to be. It wasn't that bad. So, look, I don't know if Saturday's going to get it, but I do know, I suspect, based upon everything Irsay said at the time and everything he said since then, he's going to do everything he can to justify giving the job to Jeff Saturday. And what you got to ask yourself is, how long will it be until your stadium is half empty every week if you continue to cling to a guy who didn't show us a whole lot to make us think he would be a successful NFL head coach?
Yeah, I think, first off, to be fair to him, that was a very tough situation. He didn't get to put his imprint, on it. But at the same time, you also got lucked into the greatest situation ever. I mean, you got to be a head coach, and you've never coached. You just got to come off a TV and be a head coach of a football team. So, there's a little give and take there as far as fair, not fair, whatever else. It was tough. The thing that
all he had to say is no. I'm getting put in a bad situation. I can't do this. Are you crazy? I shouldn't be doing this.
Right. But also you're not. That's what I mean.
Saturday.
You're also never going to get the head coaching job, and until you go and coach somewhere and earn your stripes for a little while. So yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I was trying to say, Mike.
There's another path.
Yeah.
There's another path. When they want you to be the offensive line coach, and you say no, you should have said yes. When they want you to do it again this year and you say no, you should have said yes. You don't earn your stripes by getting a head coaching job handed to you. Yeah. You earn your stripes by earning your stripes, by working at the lower levels.
Right.
And then, when you're in a delicate clock management situation, you're not using your timeouts. You've been there and you've been part of it. You've heard the discussions in the meetings after the fact, and you learn it that way. So I continue to have very strong feelings about this idea that we can just pluck people off of TV and put them into these jobs when they haven't worked the lower jobs. You're losing something when you do that, and we saw that this year.
I would agree. I would agree with that. And again, I'm not. I'm sensitive to the situation. It was tough, but here's what I want to say. First off, this is what I would go. I don't think they would have finished the season 1-7 if Frank Reich was the coach. Okay. One thing I learned with Frank Reich in his years in India, they battled through adversity, and every year we'd go, oh my gosh, look at them. They're still hanging in there somehow, some way. So that's the first thing I want to say. And then not only 1-7 is a bad look, and I know we got off to a pretty good start. We beat the Raiders. That was cool. We were competitive with the Eagles, but after that, it went downhill, and it went to questionable. Right? And then that's where it became hard to find a lot of positives about what he was doing. I'd be good with 1-7 and, okay, wait, woo, I saw a lot of things, bright, shiny objects that look good, and, ooh, there's some potential there. But I don't know. As the more it went on, the worse it got, it looked like to me. And that's something where I want to go, oh, sign me up for that again. I mean, we start with the Pittsburgh bad clock mismanagement. then the fourth quarter collapse to the Dallas Cowboys, then the off the bye week comeback, and look, the defense with Gus Bradley, right? Yeah, they set up the football team with a 33-0 lead against the Vikings, and Jeff Saturday and the offensive coaches can't figure out a way to manage the clock and win the game, and they do some things that are horrible clock management that allowed Minnesota to come back. And then it really fell apart. I mean, dominated by the Chargers, dominated by the Giants, lose to the Texans in a bad way. That's where I just have a hard time going, you're going to be able to sell that to your fan base and people there that, like, that was a good thing and that we saw light at the end of the tunnel, that it was their success was around the corner. That's where I question the whole thing a little bit, Mike.
Well, and think of it this way. I know we have to take a break, but think of it this way. Was there any decision, any move, any tactic from Jeff Saturday that resonated widely
exactly right.
with those of us who observe football and say, that's where I see the potential to become a great head coach? Because I guarantee you this, his buddies at ESPN would have been shining a spotlight on it if there was anything to point to. And we know how that went. And I would like to have a little objectivity, and I understand he's a colleague, but it was kind of shameful. I'm sorry, I'm going to get myself in trouble for saying that, but it was kind of shameful that there was this blind support of a guy that came off of one of their studio desks. But if there was anything that would have been the signature Jeff Saturday coaching moment that made us believe he could be Bill Belichick or Vince Lombardi or some combination of the two, we would have heard about it for multiple news cycles. It's all they would have talked about. And there wasn't. There just wasn't. So do with that what you will, Jim Irsay.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.